The Dream Lantern has found a story for you tonight. In a small town where the ovens never quite went old, there was a baker who needed starlight into his bread. And tonight, we are going to watch him work. Get comfortable now. Let your body soften into wherever you are resting. Take a slow breath in and let it go. Let your shoulders fall. Let your hands rest open. And let everything else wait until morning. In the town of Millbrook, tucked into a valley where the fog settled low each evening, there was a small bakery on the corner of a cobblestone street. Its windows glowed warm and cold, long after every other shop had darkened for the night. The bakery belonged to a man named Thomas. Thomas was neither young nor old, but somewhere comfortably in between, with flour permanently dusted into the creases of his hands and a low, easy hum that seemed to follow him wherever he moved. He had inherited the bakery from his grandmother, along with her worn wooden table, her heavy stone oven, and one small, strange secret that she had passed down to him on the last night before she died. She had taken his hands in hers, dry and warm and dusted white, and told him this: the best bread isn't made only with flour and water, she said. It needs something more. It needs a little starlight, kneaded in gently while the town is sleeping. Thomas had smiled at the time, thinking it was simply one of her many gentle stories, the kind she told to make ordinary things feel a little more magical. But that night, after she had gone, he found himself standing in the quiet kitchen long after midnight, unable to sleep. And he noticed something strange. Moonlight was falling through the high window above the oven, pulling softly onto the worn wooden table. And within that pool of light, tiny points of brightness seemed to drift, slow and lazy, like dust caught in a sunbeam, except cooler and quieter and faintly blue. He reached out his flawed hand uncertainly and felt them settle gently against his bow. Not hot, not cold, just soft, like the last warmth of a candle just after it's been blown out. That was the night Thomas began baking in Starlight. Now, every evening, long after the shop had closed and the last customer had wandered home, Thomas would begin his true work. He would pull the heavy curtains part way back, just enough to let the sky in. He would set out his grandmother's old wooden bowl, wide and smooth from decades of gentle use, and he would wait. The starlight did not come right away. It never did. It came slowly, the way anything patient comes, drifting in first as a few faint speaks near the window sill, then gathering quietly, unhurried, until a soft, silvery pull of it rested in the bowl, waiting to be folded into the dough. Thomas found that he loved this part of his day more than any other. The shop was quiet. The ovens ticked gently as they cooled from the daytime baking. Flour dust hung softly in the low light, catching the faint blue glow from the bowl. And the whole town outside, Millbrook itself, settled slowly into sleep around him. One lit window going dark after another, until his was the only warm light left on the street. He would begin with the flour first, soft and pale, poured in a slow stream from a cloth sack worn thin with use. Then warm water, just enough to feel like a held hand. A little honey from the hives kept by old Miss Pharaoh to streets over, who always left a jar on his windowsill in trade for a warm loaf each Sunday. And then finally, the starlight. He would scoop it gently with his hands, the way one might scoop cool water from a steel pond and fold it slowly into the dough again and again, watching it disappear into the pill mixture like sugar dissolving into tea. The dove always seemed to sigh a little as it absorbed the light. Thomas liked to imagine that this was the sound of it settling, the way a person settles more deeply into a chair after a long day, finally comfortable, finally at ease. He would knead slowly, never rushing. His grandmother had taught him that dough could feel impatience the way people can. And that bread made in a hurry never rose quite as gently, never tasted quite as soft. So he took his time. He pressed the heel of his palm into the dough, folded it, turned it, pressed again in slow rhythm that matched his own breathing. Outside, the fog crept in from the hills, curling gently around lampposts, muffling the last few footsteps of the night. Somewhere down the street, a cat settled onto a warm windowsill. Somewhere above, the sky, now missing just a few of its smallest, faintest stars, kept watch over the sleeping town, patient and unbothered by the small bobbing. Once the dove had been kneaded long enough, Thomas would cover it gently with a damp cloth and set it near the warmth of the cooling oven, and there it would rest. This was the part his grandmother had called the important part. Not the mixing, not even the baking. The resting. Bread needs time to drain, she used to tell him, the same as anyone else. And so the dog would sit, quiet and covered, in the low golden light of the kitchen, slowly rising, slowly softening, filling itself with all that gentle starlight until it had roughly doubled in size. Round and soft as a sleeping thing curled beneath a blanket. Thomas would use this waiting time to treat his kitchen. He wiped down the old wooden table, worn smooth by his grandmother's hands, and her mother's before that. He rinsed the white bowl and set it upside down to dry. He swept the light dusting of flour from the floor, slow, unhurried strokes of the broom, the soft sound blending with the quiet tick of the cooling oven. Sometimes he simply sat in the one worn chair by the window and watched the fog drift past the glass and let his own tiredness settle over him, the way it settled over the rest of the sleeping town. When the dove had finished rising, soft and full beneath its claws, Thomas would shape it gently into loaves. He never rushed this part either. He cupped each portion of dough in both hands, turning it slowly, tucking the edges under, the way one might tuck a blanket beneath a child's chin. He placed each shaped loaf onto the white wooden peel, dusted lightly with flour, and one by one he slid them into the great stone oven, still holding a low, banked warmth from the daytime's fire. The oven door would close with a soft, heavy sound, and Thomas would sit back and wait again. This waiting was different from the first, quieter somehow. The whole kitchen filled slowly with a warm, rich smell, faintly sweet, faintly like honey and warm stone, and something else. Something Thomas could never quite name, but which he suspected was simply the smell of starlight, gently baking. He liked to imagine in these final quiet minutes all the small dreams folded into each loaf. He believed the way his grandmother had believed before him, that anyone who ate bread made this way would carry a little of that starlight with them. Not enough to notice, not really, just enough to make their sleep a little softer that night. Just enough so that somewhere in their dreaming they might glimpse for just a moment a warm kitchen and a patient baker and the sky slowly, gently giving away its smallest light. When the loaves were finally ready, golden and warm, their crusts faintly shimmering under the kitchen light, Thomas would lift them carefully onto the cooling rack by the window. The last of the night's fog pressed softly against the glass beside them, as though it too wanted to feel their warmth. And then, his work finished, Thomas would finally allow himself to rest. He would bank the oven's coals slow, wipe the last of the flour from his hands, and climb the narrow stairs to his small roof above the shop, where a single window looked out over the sleeping rooftops of Millbrook. He always paused there for a moment before bed, looking up at the sky, now just slightly softer, slightly quieter, missing only the faintest handful of its light. "Thank you," he would whisper, the way his grandmother once had, and the sky, patient and unbothered, would simply glimmer back at him, already beginning to gather new light for tomorrow night, the way it always did, without complaint, without hurry, the same slow and generous rhythm it had kept for longer than anyone in Millbrook could remember. Downstairs, in the quiet kitchen, the fresh loaves rested on their rack, cooling slowly in the dark. filled with everything gentle that had gone into them. The floor, the honey, the unhurried hands, and the soft, borrowed light of 1,000 distant stars, folded in and dreaming quietly until morning. You don't have to do anything else tonight. Wherever you are resting right now, you can let yourself be as soft and unhurried as that dove beneath its clothes. You have done your kneading for today. Whatever you carried, whatever you shepherd, it is finished now. There is nothing left to prove and nothing left to finish. Only this slow, quiet rising that happens on its own if you simply let it. Imagine, if you'd like, that some small part of tonight's sky is settling gently over you now. Not as anything you need to catch or hold, just as his soft presence drifting down slowly, patient and glad simply to be somewhere warm. You don't have to be anywhere else. You don't have to sink your way toward sleep. Let your breathing slow on its own, the way dove slows and settles once it's finally left alone. Let your hands rest open. Let your thoughts loosen one by one. The way flow loosens from tired hands at the end of a long night's walk. If your mind wanders, let it wander somewhere gentle toward warm kitchens and quiet streets. In the particular hush of a tone settling into sleep around you. There is no oven waiting for you tonight. No shipping, no rising, no long hours of patient work. Only rest. Simple, complete, unhurried rest. You have carried enough today. You can set all of it down now. Let the fog outside your window real or imagined. Curl softly around the edges of your thoughts, softening anything that still feels unfinished. Whatever tomorrow needs from you can wait until morning. The same patient way the sky waits, gathering its light slowly without rush. Tonight, there's only this, the soft dark, the slow breeze, the quiet, gently rising deeper and deeper into sleep. Somewhere, a small kitchen glows, warm against the fog, and somewhere, a sky is already beginning to gather new light for tomorrow. Let yourself rest inside that same patience now. There's nowhere else you need to be. The lantern will be waiting for you tomorrow night. Sleep well.